Morning everybody, it's Thea and welcome back to Garden Goddess Tarot. Today's video is going to be the monthly roundup video, talking about what's been going on, what's new, what's not new in this case. For Cancer season, even though I'm late and it's already well into August, but that's okay. How are you doing? I'm very good, thanks. Cancer season was a bit of a emotional whirlwind. But upon reflection, when I was like making notes about like what did I even do during that month, it turns out it was actually like a really magical month in like all of the best kind of ways. But I didn't really realize it until I like reflected back on it and was like, oh yeah, I did this, and oh yeah, I did that, and oh yeah, I did this, and like all of these little like magical things. When someone asks you what you've done the month, you're like, well, I did stuff. But then, you know, I think, but I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. That was a big deal. And that was a big deal, but it's not like the kind of thing that you like can tell your friends when you sit down and chat to them because they just don't get it. So anyway, we're just gonna go over a few of the decks I've been using, which it's been a weird month in the deck department, I will say. I flitted between them. Like I was pretty much not committed to any deck this last month. So I was really like just rotating through the ones, right? Just like use this one for a day, use that one for a day. So like I can't really come and share with you like 30 some odd decks, and it would just be I used it one time. Ooh, so like I wasn't super committed to any particular one, but I've got 4 here that I kind of maybe use more than the others, and I'll talk about them when we get to the deck portion of the video. Mandatory garden update though. It being height of summer, things are just growing and growing and growing, and it's just been non-stop rain as well, so everything is just very full and lush, weedy a little bit, but a lot of the summer perennials are coming out. The phlox is popping, the geraniums are swallowing everything up, hostas are still looking pretty good. The echinacea right now is bomb. It's like a sea of beautiful echinacea. The opium poppies, they're just past now, but during, you know, July and the end of June, they were really good. And I actually, part of what I had accomplished this month, I made a flower essence from the opium poppies, and I did a video on it, and that video is in the member space for the channel. So if you're a channel member, you get to enjoy that one. It's just pretty much the flower essence making process, specifically if you're working with a baneful plant, and associations and how to, and sweeping landscape shots of flowers in the garden. So it's a fun time. So if you haven't checked it out, go ahead and have a look, and if you're interested in becoming a member, that among many other videos is available to you. I've just been a video making machine actually during Cancer season. There's a lot, and a few bonus ones, so why not? It's been fun. I've been having actually a great time with it, and it's just another way to get to know everybody else and me in my practice, and I don't know, it's just an extra layer of magic onto things. So been loving that for sure. Circling back around to the garden, it's weedy. It does need cut back a little bit. There's a lot of like spent perennials that I should chop back, but the deer flies are particularly bad this year, I personally feel, and I really don't enjoy them. Imagine, like, if you're not familiar with what deer flies are, imagine like a little mosquito times 10 that lands on you and bites you, and it hurts and drains you of your life force. Via blood. They're awful, and I dislike them. And they're just, they buzz around your head and you can hear them and feel them, and I don't like them. So when they're really bad at the height of summer, and because it's been so wet, I just kind of avoid being out there during, you know, the time of day when they're the most. So I've just, usually once it starts to cool off in late August, I'll go in and just give her a chop and prepare things for fall. But I don't actually really mind. Like, there's a bunch of foxglove stalks that I desperately need to, you know, shake the seeds out of and cut down, but like every day they fade a little bit more. It's part of their life cycle, you know. But I do desperately want to collect their seeds, so I will have a glut of foxglove seeds. If anybody wants any, let me know. The dahlias are out early this year too. That's interesting. They usually don't bloom for me until much later. Usually like August, even the beginning of September some years. But I guess just with the sheer amount of rain and warm weather, like the tropical feel like it's been, I've got dahlias. So there's a sneaky yellow one that managed to sneak in. I used to have a lot more, and a lot of the tubers died over the winter or just didn't make it, and unfortunately the only ones that are doing really well are like my orangey ones, my reddy ones, and my yellowy ones. I've got the couple of little pink fellers left, but anyway, it is the way of things, but I'll take it as a message. Yeah, no, as for the garden, that's kind of it. I haven't really been doing too much out there, weeding the odd bit, making flower essences, but when it comes to like excavating, digging, it's really just maintenance right now. That's what I'm trying to say. But it's lovely to look at, and I thoroughly enjoy watching it grow and change every day. It'll be fun. It hasn't quite reached the point where like you can tell the plants are like relaxing. They're still actively growing. They're still going. They're like still like trucking along. It'll be probably into late August when you can tell they start to relax a little bit, and then like the wispy beginnings of the feelings of fall creep in. And I've been feeling them a couple of mornings. It's been cool and wet. The air is that like cool and wet air that feels like fall, and I get all woo. So considering I'm a summer baby, like I was born in the middle of summer, I really don't particularly enjoy it that much. But fall, I'm like a spring and fall girly. Those are my faves. Winter, meh. Summer, meh. The more temperate regions of temperature are more my jam. So that's the mandatory garden update for you all. Cancer season 2023. It's all very official. All right, stuff I did. This is fun. I'm gonna ream off a bunch of the magical stuff I've done because they were really, it was fun and exciting, and I a lot of them, they just kind of happened naturally. It wasn't like forcing myself to do it, wasn't trying too hard, it wasn't scheduling it or anything. It was like, oh, I want to do this one thing, and then I gathered materials and just did it, and that feels good to me. It feels like authentic and organic. It was like, oh, this is what I need to do right now, and it makes total sense. One of the first things was the opium poppy flower essence, as I mentioned. You know, connecting with that plant spirit, reading up on it, really kind of absorbing myself in the world that is the opium poppy. So that was lovely. Made that, and now I get to work with it indefinitely. I also went on a bit of a crystal related adventure. I usually not the kind of girl who goes out of her way to find crystals. Usually they're just kind of like an afterthought, or I grab one when like I was at work at the crystal shop I was like drawn to or whatever. You know when you find one you're like, well, that's mine now. You know, but I usually don't go out of my way to get them, but this time I did. This time I made like an intentional trip to the crystal shop looking specifically for something, and ended up with a basket of beautiful rocks. There is a in detail video talking about each of them in the member space as well if you're curious, so have a look there if you want to know more about those. I also made rose water for the first time. I was very excited about that. That was actually a really informative and like illuminating experience, because I thought it was going to be way more difficult than it actually was. It was actually pretty easy. So, and again, there's a video on it too. Like I said, I was a video making machine this month, but I've been really enjoying just like spritzing myself with the rose water just out of the bath. It like feels really good in all the ways that you like think it would. But it's beautiful that it's made from the roses that are here, that I grew this year. Like I watch them sprout and grow and bud up and then bloom, and then gathered their essence via the hydrosol making method. So if you're curious about how I made that, video down below, all of the like rose lore and the process, as well as the bottling and everything. It's all in there, so check out that video. It's a pretty good one if you're curious about the rose water. But I've just been really enjoying using it too, so that was a thing I did. Another thing I made quite recently was the Mediterranean sea salt spray. Another one of those ones that just, I was like, I need to make this, obviously. And then I did, and it's just like a refreshing salt spray, which you can use in your hair or just, you know, however you would want to use a salt spray. Yeah. But for me, personally, it was a purification related one, and I specifically chose sea salt from the Mediterranean Sea, and then I added some orange blossom hydrosol water, and it is so perfect. Oh, the process of making it was really beautiful and just felt right. And like, you know, when you do something and it just lands so right and you're like, yes, everything about this is so much yes. That's kind of how that guy went. So something about the neroli smell, the saltiness of it, it smells like the beach. I don't know how, because you don't really associate orange blossoms with the beach, but it works. It transports, it purifies. It is a little slice of the Mediterranean Sea in a bottle for when I need it. And that's awesome. And that's the kind of stuff I love doing. That's like, it's almost like making things that transport you to where you need to be for certain workings, right? Like that's just so good. Anyway, very proud of that, very happy about that. And I also made another extremely, shall we say, potent thing. It's a little jar of Olympian protection salt, and how I made this, oh, again, every step of the way was like, it was hitting all the right spots. I was like, yes. It's a black salt, so it's a protection salt. It also carries all of the properties of the black salt, as black salt would, protection, boundaries, all that sort of jazz. And what I used to make it black was kifi ash. So the kifi that I made last year, about this time actually, I've been saving all of the ash from it, which is basically the little dried pellets. They get pretty hard and like crunchy. Anyway, I ground them up in the mortar and pestle, and then I added them to the Mediterranean sea salt and added a bunch of other stuff to it, tokens, and basically a representation from each of the Olympian deities is in there, so the whole thing. Anyway, so I've got that now, and I'm pretty chuffed with how it turned out. So added to the list of items in the apothecary. How wonderful. So again, another one that it just like made sense to make based on what I already had and what I was already doing that fit within the wheelhouse of everything that I wanted to do. So anyway, that's the thing that I got made. Yes, we had our flower essence, salt spray, black salt, the rose water, new crystals, and other than that, I've just been like reading tarot like a tarot reading machine this last month, and it's been great. Readings for people here, there, and everywhere. I have another there's another event booked. There's a music festival in about a week. Yeah, that's a week from now. Yeah, I think so. I should pay more attention. But I'll be reading at a festival where people will just, you know, come and go. It's a different environment when you're reading at a festival, for sure. It's a lot more chill, not as serious, not as heavy, right? They're very, like, it doesn't make the readings any more important or poignant, but it's still, there's not as much weight on them, you know? You're not going to get into any deep inner child work or, you know, try and figure out the inner workings of your psyche in, like, a 10-minute reading at a music festival where they're playing covers of Fleetwood Mac in the background. There's the barbecue, all you can smell is hot dogs, and there's children screaming everywhere, you know? Bouncy castle behind you. But it's so fun. I love doing it, but it's definitely a different vibe entirely. So looking forward to doing that. And what deck should I bring? I haven't really thought of that yet. I'll probably bring an RWS, or maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Because usually in that case, like, absolutely no one gives two hoots what deck you use, so I'll probably just bring one and just do a tarot, because I don't have time to, like, be making a mountain of cards with 9 different decks, right? So I'll probably just bring the one and do it. Like I said, it's a totally different vibe to how I read for myself and how I, like, do booked client readings. Festival readings they're fun, too. It takes all the pressure off. So nice. So, yeah, that's coming up. Looking forward to that. Oh, that reminds me, in the shower today, I was also having a little bit of a think about the types of tarot and, you know, tarot decks like you do. Because, you know, I like to roll around philosophical thoughts in my brain while I'm in the shower. I was thinking, like, oh, asking myself that tale as old as time type question, like, how many decks should I have? Like, is there, again, this should, but, you know, for me personally, how many decks what's the amount that I'm comfortable with? Like, is this beneficial? What's going on? Just, like, rolling the idea around in my brain, because there's inklings again in the ether. Just the question is being posed naturally again, like it often does in tarot land, and it's just, you know, it's fun to think about also with ourselves. And it struck me that, as I've mentioned before, that tarot is a language, right? Tarot, for me, it's a language. It's a way to communicate, and it's via symbols, symbolism, lore, myth, magic. All of the layers that are on tarot are just different, like, facets of the language that is tarot. But the different decks that exist, I think I've boiled it down. I think they're like different fonts, right? So it's all speaking the same language. Each tarot deck is speaking the language of tarot. but it's doing it in its own different font, right? And I was thinking the RWS is definitely Times New Roman, right? It's what you generally learn on. It's the, you know, your basic, your bog standard, it's what's there, and it's everywhere. A lot of things, many things are written in RWS in Times New Roman, right? And then I was thinking, well, Thoth's probably papyrus, right? A bit different. You gotta be a certain type of person to want to use papyrus font, but it's very distinctive. And I don't know, that fit, that made sense. And I was like, well, Marseille, what's Marseille? Oh, Marseille is definitely like a Baskerville or like a Bookman Old style, right? So in expanding on this little analogy metaphor type thing, it doesn't matter how many fonts you have access to, you're still writing with the language that is tarot. So cool. Again, it's very similar to my like different like dialect and language analogy, but it breaks it down a little bit further, and it kind of helps address the you know, how many decks question, and I think it just reassures for me that it really doesn't freaking matter, because you can only use one deck at a time, right? And that's not saying that you should only have one deck. Don't mince words there. Like, it's not that you should only have one. I'm not shooting over anybody, but it's just saying that you can only use, like, there can only be one in your hands at a time. Whether you like bring in multiple for a reading or not, it's up to you. But in each present moment, that moment that we live in, we can only focus on one at a time. But that's not saying that you can't have a million if you want. Like, it's entirely up to you and where you land. And I think for me, I don't know, I haven't figured out the number yet. I was just like, ooh, they're like different fonts, and you can write in whatever font you want, and it changes the experience of reading if it's in a different font, right? Like, you're reading something in Comic Sans, you're getting a very distinctive experience from reading something in Times New Roman or Bookman Old Style or Papyrus, right? Like, it's part of setting the tone, but you're still using the language of tarot. And I think it doesn't, like, you could, there's an infinite amount of fonts out there, and if you want to be the kind of person who explores all the different kinds of fonts and reads in different and unique and, you know, beautiful ways, go for it. But if you're the kind of person that's like, I really like my Times New Roman, man, I've always known it, it's easy, I can read it really well, like, then go for it. That's totally valid also. So I found that metaphor, that analogy really landed really well in that space of trying to figure out, you know, my relationship to all of the different decks in the world. Because, like, there's going to be a gazillion fonts in the world that I never use and never want to use. And there's some that I use all the time, some more than others, some that I, like, use occasionally for, like, flashy, like, aesthetic reasons, right? Like, I don't know, it worked really well in my brain. Let me know what you think of my tarot font analogy. I thought that was fun. And then of course I started to think about how much of my identity is tied up into which font I use, or I guess which deck I use. Because for a while when I was young, I was like, I'm a Cyphilin girl. I don't know how you say it, but all of my university papers were typed out in Cyphilin because it was different than Times New Roman. But it was still like professional enough to be okay for APA papers. Anyway, was I allowed to for APA? I think so. Anyway, it was just funny. I didn't get in trouble for it anyway, but it's like how much of my identity is wrapped up in what I use, right? And for me, I feel like this is me thinking it should be that it's like none. I can read with anything, and what deck I read with doesn't really matter. What matters is the message, right? So, but there is a tendency towards, you know, enjoying the aesthetics of something. So again, we're back around at the aesthetics conversation and whether they matter or not, and they do matter. But at the same time, they also don't matter. It's both. It's both. It's both again. But another thing that I really like wanted to explore with my brain is, you know when you find a deck and you're like, oh, this is me. I really want to be able to discern whether a deck is me because I use the deck, or I use the deck because it is me. And I think those are two different things, right? Like, a deck becomes you because, like, all decks are you. They're mirrors, right? But when we feel like a deck is like really us, that fits us really well, is it something you're choosing, or is it something that's you because you use it, right? Is it you because you use it, or do you use it because it's you? So I'm kind of bouncing my brain between those two points of perspective, and it's fun and it's interesting. And I like to think I lean more towards a deck is me because I use it, but at the same time I obviously use decks because I think they're me. So, and at what point does one become the other? It's very interesting, kind of fun, thought experiments, but Anyway, shower thoughts with the wow. Okay, let's roll into the deck portion of the video because that's fun and like they're great. Love them. First off, I had a great. I'm looking at my little stack. It's only 4 decks, just so you know. There's obviously, like I mentioned in the beginning, I've been rotating through quite a lot and been using a great deal, especially of my staples, right? My Davis of Creation, my Kim Cran's Alchemy Oracle, my Oracle of the Radiant Sun are all up on the altar doing their thing. Read with them all the time. I've been doing like a 3 card with the soul cards lately and just leaving it out, and it's been really powerful too. On this new little it's a little box that I keep all my Oracle decks in. I've changed my storage situation up a little bit as well, and I just put most of my my big box Oracle decks in this, so they're here, which is where I like to use them also. And it's also conveniently a nice another little surface, and don't we all love new little surfaces to put things on? Yes. A new place for the trinkets. But I've been pulling three card with the soul cards there and just kind of letting them evolve and like and show themselves naturally in the time span that they're out, and I engage with them that way, and it's been really beautiful and really great. So soul cards, love soul cards. I think I was using 2, but I think I'm back. No, I've been using 1 and I'm back to using soul cards too, just to rotate and keep it all fresh, but those are great. Yeah, like the Chatty decks I still pull out occasionally, the Dame Darcy decks I pull out occasionally, like it's just kind of like a bit of everything all at once. Like I use the Botticelli Tarot, the Duloc, and there's like just, you know, all over it. No rhyme or reason, just kind of whatever strikes my fancy at the time. Pastoral Tarot, like it's like literally all over the place. But one that got used kind of probably more than the others is the Rain Shadow Tarot by Claire Mack, and I think that's just because it's new also, and it's beautiful and I like it a lot. There's a full walkthrough of this up on the channel, but this is her new tarot deck, and we all know her oracle decks, the Illuminated Earth and the Faceted Garden Oracle, are iconic, and I think they still stand out more to me, I will say, but the tarot is also fun and really quite good. It fits within the world of her creations really, really well. It's very energetic. Like it shifts you from calm and cool and like nurtured and safe to, you know, more exploratory, and I don't know, it's fun. I need to spend a little bit more time because the readings I've been doing with them are like quick ones, and I kind of get into that habit sometimes too, where it's like, oh, I pull my 3 card and then it's like boom boom boom, then I read the cards and move on. But I want to spend a little bit more time like really sitting with them in a more meditative way, just because there's a little bit more in them. There's curiosity to this deck that I think can be sussed out, and I don't think that's the kind of thing that that Claire, the artist, specifically put in, but I think it was just a natural factor of the creative process. So, Candle, there's stuff in here for me to find, but I like it quite a lot, and it was a good one to be pulled in this month for me and for other people, for sure. And it's beautiful, and you can't say no to a nice, beautiful, earthy deck. Because I think, when I boil things right down, like ultimately the root of my practice is earth-based. There's a lot of like heady, like airy, deity, mythological type, like unearthly aspects to it, but I really like I lose myself a little bit unless I like ground myself every so often. When I did get an order in from Madame Phoenix, she's a witch in Toronto, and she's got this amazing shop, and I found her and I was like, yes, I gotta grab some stuff. So I got some more sprays. It was very spray month, actually. Cancer season was very into like making sprays, the hydrosol, the sea salt spray, and then I got a grounding spray and a Sacred Grove spray. So it was very much engaging with the water element in that way, which is appropriate for summer. But oh, and the Orange Blossom hydrosol too. Like it was a liquidy month. Not a lot of fire, lots of liquid. So that was really cool. And then the Rain Shadow Tarot on top of that. So there you go. A bit of an accidental theme. And then another new is probably not the best word to choose to describe this one. It's a very old deck. This is the Tarot Classic. This is a Marseille deck from, ooh, when is it from? This particular one might be from the 70s. I don't know if you can tell, but the box is a little bit worse for wear. But this is just a really beautiful Marseille deck, book by Stuart Kaplan, which we love, the US Games deck, 1971. is when this bad boy was from. And it has, I love the smell of it. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a weird fruity smell, and I'm sure that's just based on where it came from and where it was stored, but it's charming and I really like it. Cute little plaid backs. It's a little bit smaller than your standard tarot. It's really nice. Like, it's even smaller than most Scarabeo decks, I think. But it's a treat, and it's just, the colors are fun, and I don't know, I like pulling in a Marseille every once in a while just to keep things simple, kind of quiet the crazy. The messages are quick and clear with the Marseille all the time, and I've been looking for this one for a while, and I found it on eBay for like $12. So a big thank you actually to Janaki for reminding me. I think I was watching one of her videos and she talked about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to look that up because I've been meaning to get one for a while. But the colors, there's like, it's like Kelly green and pink and yellow and like carnival blue. Like, they're just, yeah, the color palette is definitely its own thing. And the faces, that's half the thing with the Marseille is the faces, and I think they're distinctly of their time. But it's a good one, it's a great one, it's iconic, and on that good old-fashioned US Games cardstock. The old stuff, it's just fantastic. An Oracle deck that I know, I'm mixing a Marseille with Oracle, what? It's, I think, or is it Meg has a really good video. Did she do a video on it? Yeah, trying to like match Marseille decks to other decks, and it's harder than you'd think. They're very much their own distinct thing. But I've been pairing it with this, and I was using this combo for a lot, like probably it was the most concentrated of a repeated deck choice of the month. This is the Messages from the Light Meditation deck by Joyce Huntington, and it's cute. It's a little square deck, very cute backs, very fluffy, super fluffy, but very vague, very useful, and it's just good to kind of like, when you're looking for that kind of self-exploration, really calm, like unoffensive reading to explore. I pair this with a couple of cards from the Marseille deck and it was really great. It's lovely. This is a US Games deck also. It's on the shitty new card stock, but I think just the number of cards, I don't know, it's not, I'm not offended by it in this case. And it's not the most cards ever. I think it's only like 44. Oh no, 52. It doesn't feel like a lot. Maybe I'm just used to the Hellenic Oracle, which has like 150 freaking cards in it, that when I get a 52 card deck, I'm like, there's nothing there. But it's got, you know, really like great expansive words and ideas. It fits really well into that, like if you're spiritually minded, if you like exploring ideas with your mind and using these kind of concepts as like navigation points and jumping off points during journeys and meditations. It's great for that. And they're really pretty. And I think this will match a lot of things. But yeah, no, it's a great little mass market Oracle deck. The guidebook, there's not much in it. It's really simple, simplistic. I don't even keep the guidebook in the box with it anymore. I just kind of, I use it on its own. It's really clear. It's pretty obvious what they're trying to get you to think about. So I'm using that with my Tarot Classic. That was a fun time during Cancer season. And I guess, yeah, Cancer season did lean a little more emotional for me, personally, I think. I guess there was a lot of action too. It was a fiery, watery combo, definitely, because I did get a lot done. But I don't really gauge my personal worth on productivity. Like, I'm saying that to remind myself. Do not gauge personal worth on productivity. But I did get a lot done in Cancer season. Yeah, lots of reflection. There's a lot going on in the sky recently. There was just the Lunosa on the full moon in Aquarius. Venus retrograde, we're about to go into Mercury retrograde again. So many retrogrades. But like, it's like, you know, I do feel like things aren't happening as fast as I want. Like in the life, the way I do things and things going. Sorry, we're getting weirdly personal out of nowhere. My apologies, but I don't feel like I'm going as fast as I want to go, but that's okay. We can take time to like chill for a little bit and relax. I think that was, and a lot of my readings this month have just been coming back around to, my God, take a holiday. Enjoy being alive, dang it. So that's been my like focus, been trying to, instead of just like go, go, go. It's like, no, what's the point of going when where you are is great too. So also that. Anyway, the last deck I want to share with you guys today is this one, and it came relatively recently. I haven't had it that long, but I've been enjoying the heck out of it. And this is a deck that, as I was talking about earlier, is a deck me because I use it, or do I use it because it's me? And I think this one is I use it because it's me. I saw it and I'm like, that's already mine, actually. It's brilliant. It's genius. This is called the Fantasy Garden Tarot. As a person who loves escapism, who lives in an escapist mindset all the time, much to my husband's chagrin, it's perfect for how I see the world. It's an RWS clone. Like, not exactly, it's not like a replica clone, but it feels very RWS-y, I guess you could say. Little guidebook. It's made in Ukraine. It's by Pentagram Publishing, and it's pretty cool because the cards are all drawn with a like selected color palette of ballpoint pens, and it's all hand drawn with a limited color palette, but the settings are just beautiful. Like, this again feels like what my internal landscape looks like. The backs are very cool. Like, I appreciate, like, yes, looks like a rug or wallpaper. That is the standard for tarot backs. They're a little bit glossy. The cardstock is like a little bit sticky floppy. Does that make sense? Like, how can I, it's probably most similar to the Dreams of Gaia, the big one, but it's like a little bit thicker. But it feels very much the same. So if you only like matte cardstock, you're probably not going to super love the feel of this, but I don't mind at all. I think it's going to break in really nicely. I need to edge it still. Or should I just let it tarnish naturally over time? Sometimes I am compelled to just leave the sides naked of a deck that I know I'm going to use a lot, so that it gets all like nice and grubby with all my hand oils. Delicious. I love how the characters don't really have faces. Like, they've got like their figures, their faces are there, but there's no features on it, and it's more just immersing you into the setting and the landscape, which feels very familiar to anyone who's familiar with RWS. I just love the texture. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. I should hear about this more. It does feel like it takes place in a garden, but it's like a kind of, it's not a flowery garden, it's more of like a setting garden. Because I don't know, is there any flowers in it at all? It's mostly just shrubbery, but I do love some good shrubbery. My sexuality is a well-trimmed hedge. But it's beautiful. I love it. And I've been using it in a few readings for people. I've been using it for myself a lot. I'm really compelled to like put it next to my bed and pull cards for myself before I go to sleep. Jumpstart the dreaming process. Because I would love to, like, this is a very dreamy landscape for me. Like, this is what my idyllic dreamy landscape looks like. So yeah, no, really into this one. Like it a lot. Comes in a really great 2-piece box. I'm smitten. It is awesome. So the Fantasy Garden Tarot is probably the last one I'm gonna highlight this month, and it's winner. But yeah, those are kind of the decks that really like stood out for me this month as opposed to my usuals. So yeah, it was a fun time. But I guess, is that everything that's new with me? No. Couple of bits and bobs, but like I said, like a really like a magic focused month. I did lots of stuff. I did the thing lots of times this month, which was great and amazing, and I just didn't like get out and do. It was like a personally focused month instead of a running around and doing other things kind of month. Thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. If you're curious about any of those extra videos I was talking about, as well as personal readings for like the month ahead, the Leo season month ahead readings are all up on the member space as well, and you can access those for the lowest tier, which is only like a couple bucks a month, and they'll be there every month, just like a personal month ahead reading for you, as well as there's the extra the practice videos for the other tiers, and if you're interested in a more personal deep dive reading for yourself each month, there's a tier there for that too. So check it out if you want. No pressure, obviously, but just, you know, thanks so much for being here. Really, I do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. You guys are great, and I look forward to doing these videos every month, just catching up and chatting and interacting with you guys in the comments. It's so much fun, and it's just nice to have some people to chat to about this kind of stuff who are not going to look at me like I have 4 eyeballs, you know? So I really appreciate it. and I hope it's mutual. So thanks so much. Enough gushing. I'll see all of you fine people in my next video.